So every Halloween, I like to subject people to Scary Godmother's Halloween Spooktacular, a Halloween special that came out in 2003 and was released in America in 2004 because it's a Canadian production. Based on the comic book series by Jill Thompson, it is a fun Halloween special that I think over the years has become a favorite, especially of later born millennials and Gen Z. It's colorful, it's fun, and the animation, while it hasn't aged amazing, has this, I don't want to call it Uncanny Valley, but a lot of people would say Uncanny Valley aspect to it that just feels awkward and weird, but it kind of goes with the Halloween spirit. And I thought about reviewing it as a rewind review the same way I do everything else, but I feel like I wanted to go into this a little bit differently because I feel like a lot of people have already reviewed Scary Godmother to hell and back. But I want to talk about an aspect I feel like is usually just glossed over about Scary Godmother, and that is the overt queerness of Scary Godmother and the overarching narrative of finding your own chosen family and group of people.
Hi, gay.
I also want to go into the queer people as monsters stereotype that tends to riddle a lot of narratives and a lot of media, especially through the early 2000s. So for those of you who need a reminder of what Scary Godmother is, let me give you a quick rundown and a reminder. Even those of you who've seen it, you might need a refresher.
Get over there!
Scary Godmother is the story about a young girl named Hannah who goes trick-or-treating with her cousin Jimmy and his friends, and they, to get rid of her so they can go trick-or-treating themselves, end up tricking her into going into a spooky, dilapidated house. They call it the Spook House, but I really don't like how that sounds, so I'm just gonna call it the Spooky House or the Haunted House throughout this. I hope you can all be okay with that.
Oh, I am enjoying this.
And while she's in there, she comes across Scary Godmother, a magical witch fairy who comes to help Hannah realize that she doesn't have to be that scared and that Halloween and monsters are fun. While she's there, she meets people like Mr. Pennybones, a skeleton that lives in the closet, Bugaboo, a monster that lives under the bed and lives in the basement. Also, a family of vampires, including Max, Orwell, and Ruby, and also an over-theatrical werewolf named Harry. All of them living together in the Fright Realm, a otherworldly place that seems to be monsters and Halloween kind of all year round. Think Halloween Town. And through these encounters with these monsters at this party and everything going down, Hannah learns that monsters aren't that scary and in fact are people she likes to be around and spend her time with. In the end, Hannah does go back to the real world. She obviously has to, she's a child. But Scary Godmother gives her a key so she can come and visit any time that she wants. And I hear you over there, person who hasn't watched Scary Godmother, but you're watching this video anyway. Hi. What does all this have to do with queerness? Well, all of the monsters and broom mates of Scary Godmother and Scary Godmother herself very much have aspects to them that make them overtly queer, whether the coding is there intentionally or not. But some of them, it 100% is. And with that being there, we need to look at everything the way it is. And as it turns out, the story of Scary Godmother and Hannah going through this seems to be a story of someone finding their found family and their community. Through Scary Godmother and meeting all these monsters and spending time with them, even Bugaboo, one that she finds overtly scary, she learns that these are people that she likes and she gets along with and she has stuff in common with. To the point where in the sequel, Jimmy's Revenge, do we find out that they actually come and visit her sometimes, especially Bugaboo, because he's a monster under the bed. Hannah is the perfect example of someone young realizing that they are different, that they enjoy things that are different, that maybe even the people who are different are people she enjoys being around and are the people she wants to spend her time with. As someone who was queer at a young age, I came out at about 12, 13, and I knew way before then that I was different. I was able to really find community as I got older into my early and mid teens with queer friends, queer elders, and other queer people in community groups that were there for queer youth. And because I had those opportunities, I was able to experience and learn about queerness at a good, steady pace that was respectful for me at my age. And it was really great. And it gave me a lot of education on queer history and has made it so I have a lot of love for my community.
Get on with it!
Hannah is the least interesting of all the characters I'm going to talk about. So let's get into it because we're going to start with Scary Godmother herself. Scary Godmother is a magical fairy cat lady witch who lives with a bunch of roommates in a big dilapidated mansion. Uh, there is nothing not queer coded about this woman. In fact, Scary Godmother is actually inspired by Jill Thompson herself, who is very, very vocally a supporter of the queer community and queer people. This is the type of woman who runs the community youth group. This is the type of woman who is a counselor in high schools and specifically helps the queer kids because she herself has a partner. Her name's Linda. They make great banana bread. And not only that, but the way Scary Godmother goes about talking to Hannah and introducing her to all of this spookiness is a soft hand and a form of comfort. She doesn't push her into anything. She even scolds some of the monsters for doing things that will scare her or saying things that might frighten her away. Understanding that while yes, they are monsters and they should be themselves, they also have a guest and someone that isn't used to all of it. We are then introduced to her first roommate, Mr. Pennybones, who most people talk about first when it comes to the queer coding of Scary Godmother, and that's because he is a effeminate skeleton who lives in the closet. He's an effeminate skeleton who loves show tunes, who lives in the closet, y'all. Like, I don't know about you, but that's a gay man.
Was that supposed to help?
Yes! Do you think it worked?
If this had a higher budget, he would be played by Nathan Lane. Mr. Pettibone specifically lives in the closets of old houses.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Hannah.
Does everyone have a skeleton in their closet?
Almost everyone, little miss. I work in the closets of all the old houses, keeping their secrets and just rattling around.
Yeah, Mr. Pennybones can sometimes feel like a stereotype of queer people, especially gay men. Think Jack from Will and Grace. But I will also say, as someone who is openly queer and been queer most of my life, more of my life than I have not been queer, effeminate gay men, while yes, there might be a stereotype around it, still do exist. I'm so sorry. Femme queers are the backbone of our community. But I genuinely love Mr. Pennybones. I think he's funny. I think he's charismatic. And I also think that he's kind of the type of queer person a lot of young people like and find funny and stuff like this. Growing up when I was a kid, even before I knew that I was anything different, I loved characters like this. I thought they were funny and charming and silly. That's what Mr. Pennybones is. He is one of the nicest monsters there. He's caring, especially when it comes to Hannah. But the thing is, Mr. Pennybones doesn't feel like a stereotypic mockery. He just feels like an effeminate skeleton who lives in the closet, which is the joke. The next roommate we meet is Harry, who is your stereotypic old theater queer who loves comic books and TV shows and soap operas and is just the worst of the friend group. I'm so sorry. Yes, sometimes the old theater gays are the worst to be around. But also, Harry is a very realistic depiction of a lot of queer people I know who just love pop culture, who do love comic books, who do love media, and it's a big part of their personality. It's a lot of the things that Harry brings up. It's a lot of the things that he gets excited about, even mistaking Hannah for a actress from one of his comics. Miss Elizabeth St. Tartal! Harry also has characteristics outside of this, being boorish, being selfish, eating everything in sight. And honestly, I've met a lot of queer people like this. Also, this shirt. No straight person wears this shirt. Also, something to note is his weird misogyny towards Scary Godmother also feels very on brand for his character. That man was really excited when he thought she died in the second movie. And I won't forgive you for that, sir. We then meet the vampire family, Max, Ruby, and Orwell, who are old vampires who just hang out with Scary Godmother and they run in their own circles. They are royalty after all, but they spend time with Scary Godmother and all of her roommates. And this reminds me of those like old married straight couples, you know what I mean? Who always go to the drag show, who always go to the queer bar, who are always at the like galas and the events for queer stuff. You know, they're at that charity event, they're giving all their money, and you know that something's up. You know that this has the same energy as this. And this is the same energy as me and my fiance. So I know for a fact that this and this are the same thing. This is editing Holly. Their son's name is Orson, but I don't know why I am consistently having a problem remembering people's names. It's written down right here multiple times on the notes I am reading from for this video. So forgive, I'm going to call him a couple different names. I even wrote Orville, and I think because I was thinking of the Orville. They also have a son, Orwell, who feels so much like a kid raised by progressive parents. He does have this weird streak about him where he doesn't exactly want to be a part of all of it all the time, but he isn't ashamed of it. He in fact loves being a vampire. He thinks it's really fun, and he likes all the people and Scary Godmother, and he even warms up to Hannah and they become friends, and there obviously seems to be like maybe one day there might be a romance or something in between them or something, but it's just cute to see their friendship and see Orwell in general. I really like Orwell as a character. He reminds me very much of Little Vampires, which also is a very queer-coded movie. I won't be talking about that anymore because I feel like some people might get upset by that, but like, I know a T for T couple that looks just like this. But something to note about Max is one of his biggest issues is the changing of time and the changings of tradition, which can very often feel like an old queer person thing. That even amongst their spaces, even amongst people who are progressive, who are different, who have had to push boundaries, there is still sometimes this fear of boundaries pushing even more or things changing even more and needing to come to terms with that and be okay with that.
Newfangled fashions. I remember when a vampire queen used to look like a queen. Me too.
I actually really love the vampires in this. I think they're a really great representation of vampires. I also like how they follow some old vampire lore, like they can't enter houses without being invited. That's something a lot of things forget. Thank you, Sinners, for bringing that back. I was really, really appreciative of the whole Sinners vampires can't be let in thing, which is why I knew it would be a vampire movie right when the guy had to ask to be let in to the racist's house. Next, I want to talk about Bugaboo. Bugaboo is a monster who lives under the bed, and he is the one that Hannah is scared of the most. And Bugaboo, to me, represents visible queerness and visible uncomfortable queerness. Now, this is an uncomfortable topic, but I think it is something as a queer person that I see gets ignored a lot, but it's something we do need to talk about. And that is sometimes visible overt queerness can make people uncomfortable, not because it is something that is uncomfortable, but because it is something that someone is not used to or something that they are told is bad. Hannah is someone who has been told not only by her father, but by Jimmy, her cousin, that Bugaboo and monsters are something to be scared of, that they are going to eat her, that they eat little girls, that they predatorize children.
You eat pizza with cheese and olives?
Yeah, I like olives, so?
I thought monsters ate little girls.
Oh, that's silly. Little girls make the crust all soggy. Ha ha ha! Just joking, kid.
And where Mr. Pennybones is a skeleton, but he's in a bow tie and a top hat, so he's kind of silly. And Harry is a werewolf in a shirt, and Scary Godmother is a pretty witch with little wings, and she has pretty sparkling magic. And the vampires, for all means, are just gray human looking and kind of tall and lanky, but genuinely make friends with Hannah. Bugaboo is visibly someone that makes her uncomfortable. He represents the type of visible queerness that might cause discomfort, to me anyway. But it is through him and Hannah finding out that they have things in common that she learns to soften up and actually becomes friends, and him being the monster that she connects with the most. And something to also note about Bugaboo is that when Hannah is made to be uncomfortable by Bugaboo being there, Bugaboo tries to remove himself from the situation. He does not tell Hannah to leave, but instead tries to remove himself from his own home, mind you, to make someone feel comfortable. And that is very much something a lot of queer people have experienced throughout their lives. Us thinking about the way that other people see us before we think about our right to just exist and have a life, and even in our own spaces, have space.
Care what kind of monster he is. Keep him away from me. He's big and mean and scary looking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin the party. Maybe I should go.
No, wait. You don't have to go.
No, I understand. It comes with the job.
Now, something happens in the second movie that I think should be noted that I think is actually kind of interesting. The feelings of Halloween and the magic and spirit of Halloween starts to be decreased because Jimmy, now after being scared from monsters the year before, who protecting Hannah after Jimmy bullied her, and scared Jimmy and his friends in revenge for Hannah being scared, he then becomes scared of monsters, where the other friends actually start to warm up to Hannah and see that she is a cool person and like hanging out with her. Jimmy starts to regress, and instead of liking Halloween anymore, he is scared of it. He is scared of monsters. He doesn't want to celebrate Halloween.
Open our tale with poor Jimmy. He used to love Halloween and dressing up like a monster. But that was before last Halloween, when he found out a terrifying secret. Monsters, you see, are real.
How many times have you heard someone say they don't like a gay person, they don't like a trans person because they know a gay or a trans person who is mean to them or rude to them, or something happened to them, or they saw something on the internet. And from that point on, they judge an entire group of people, and not only judge an entire group of people, but go out of their way to tell other people that these people are bad, that these things are bad, that these are people and groups that you shouldn't be around. And then Jimmy goes out of his way to try to ruin Halloween and ruin everybody having a good time because of his own prejudice. And as Jimmy is going on this rampage, something happens where the monsters start to lose their color and what makes them monsters. And this actually ties back into some of the things I was talking about.
Well, maybe not so okay.
My signature shirt is gone! I'm naked!
Godmother loses her color. She loses what makes her her. She loses her creativity and her brightness. People like Scary Godmother in real life. Women like Scary Godmother who dress kooky, who are kooky, who care about people, who are there to make olive branches, build bridges. That's a mixed metaphor, babe. You're babbling. It is also 2 in the morning. I want you all to know I'm filming this at 2 in the morning. But with the type of person Scary Godmother is, it makes sense why she would lose her color. Pennybones falls apart. He starts to not be himself. He becomes just a normal skeleton in a closet, not inanimate, not able to speak. He loses him. Harry loses his shirt, his fashion, which might not seem like much, but outward expressions of fashion and creativity are a big part of queer culture. And this could also tie into Scary Godmother. Bugaboo becomes small, becomes unvisible, no longer able to be seen. He's tiny, he's able to be hidden. And then the vampires just become human, looking like every other normal family. It's almost on the nose how much these metaphors hit. Also, Pennybones has this line after he comes back from being dead.
My whole life passed in front of my eyes!
How was it?
Fabulous.
If that doesn't overtly tell you the vibes of all of these friends, I don't know what will. Now, I want to give a small note, a asterisk, to Katie, Daryl, and Brant. Brant? I always have to remember that this kid's name is Brant. That is a terrible name. I'm so sorry anyone out there named Brant, but I'm sorry. Sorry to this man. Who feel like those types of kids that I especially experienced, where they bully you at some point, but they kind of start to soften up to you if you stand up to yourself or show that you are just kind of a person. Not only a person, but a fun person. Hannah is delightful. I don't have much more to say. I think they're funny. It feels more like they are the comic relief rather than the queer people. I don't know. It's just funny. Usually the queer people are the comic relief, but in this case, it's the group of like heteronormative. Now, all this to say, we are going to talk about where does the stereotype of queer people being monsters come from? Why do we like it so much? Why is it a thing? So, for those of you who don't know what the Hays Code is, the Hays Code used to be a code of conduct that Hollywood would push on its movies and TV shows that had a strict rule of guidelines for anyone that wasn't a cis heteronormative couple where the husband and guy was the main lead and everyone who was good got good things and anyone who was viewed as society as bad got bad things. Like couples that were interracially mixed or queer people having any positive storylines. In fact, it was a big part of the Hays Code that if you were a queer character or you were queer coded, that you needed to face some type of punishment in the end. This wasn't also just for queer people, also infidelity, loose women, people who didn't fit outside the norm, communists, could not have a happy or positive end. That's why a lot of movies from this time who have queer characters in them don't have happy endings. It's where the bury your gays trope comes from. And this is also why a lot of villains are queer coded. Think of every Disney villain ever. Look at these people. I used to do drag professionally and worked at a bar. This was the weekly cast. So movie monsters and villains became the characters that a lot of queer people in real life would connect with because they were the only people we could see ourselves in. It's, I think, one of the reasons that Halloween is such a big queer holiday, and a lot of queer people love Halloween. A lot of our favorite media is spooky media, horror movies, dark comedies.
Gays do munch butts and celebrate Halloween.
Things that have these queer coded characters in them. And not only that, but a lot of horror and monster productions did have queer people involved in them. Psycho, Alien, Sleepaway Camp, Scream. Queer people have always connected to monsters because they are who we were given as our representation, which is why Scary Godmother feels like such a love letter to that. Instead of showing the monsters as monsters, they are people. They have their own world, their own lives, their own friends, and their own existence. It is both outside of and a part of the normal real world. Hannah feels like someone who, when introduced to this magical world and shown that it is not that scary, finds comfort and love in it. And a reminder that Hannah is introduced to this world because the friend group that she was hanging out with was bullying her for being scared of things, for not behaving like them, and being kind of girly and frilly, which is something I know a lot of queer people like myself might have experienced when they were growing up. I know when I watched this, I related to Hannah a lot. And Scary Godmother really just feels like a love letter to those queer-coded villains, to those queer-coded monsters, and just almost demonsters them and makes them normal, happy people who just exist.
So, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the show?
I love Scary Godmother's Halloween Spooktacular, and I love Scary Godmother The Revenge of Jimmy. It is genuinely, I think, one of the best things to watch for Halloween. There are so few genuine Halloween specials out there that aren't connected to some other property. Even the Charlie Brown Christmas special is still a Charlie Brown thing. But Scary Godmother exists in its own universe of comics and movies that are overtly spooky and Halloweeny, and it just feels like that's that world. And I know some of you right now are typing Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a Christmas movie. More of Nightmare Before Christmas takes place during Christmas time. I will fight you on this. There's something so magical about being different, and there is something even more magical about finding out that you fit in with the people who are different. Even in the end of Jimmy's Revenge, Jimmy ends up finding out that the monsters are cool, and he stops being scared because when he goes there, he realizes that he gets along with them and has stuff in common with them, the same way that Hannah did. And because of this, he is also able to enjoy this magical world with Hannah. Fairy Godmother is dripping with queer metaphor, and it is one of those things that if you don't notice it, you're not going to see it. But if you are queer, or if you are a kid who just knows that they're different, Scary Godmother just hits in a very special way. So much so that I honestly watch Scary Godmother a few times a year, even in the middle of summer or the dead of winter. And I'm going to leave you all with a message from the creator of Scary Godmother, Jill Thompson herself.
Hi everybody, I'm Jill Thompson. I'm the creator of Scary Godmother. I don't really post my face on TikTok. I don't know why I haven't. I like talking to people and I like talking to you guys and meeting all of the fans of Scary Godmother. It's really super important to me, and so maybe I should just start talking. I just wanted to let you guys know that your Scary Godmother loves you. She sees you. She sees you out there doing really hard things, like standing up to bullies, expressing yourself, being your true self, and she loves you. And Bugaboo loves you, and Mr. Pettibone loves you, and we have your back, and we're rooting for you. And we want you to know that you can be yourself with us all the time.
Thanks for watching, ghouls. I know this wasn't my normal type of review content, but if you like this kind of thing, I'll definitely do more analytic videos. This is what I do over on TikTok. By the way, go follow me over on TikTok. I'm AnotherBadSalad over there too, and I just love to have you there. We talk about cartoons, Bob's Burgers, all that good stuff. A little bit different than over here, but still fun nonetheless. I'm going to try to put out at least one more Halloween video before October's over. I can't promise anything, but even if it's not, I'll probably put one more out, even if it is November, because I think Halloween should go at least until Thanksgiving, like the week before. You know, I need as much Halloween as humanly possible. I have a question. Do you guys think it's disrespectful to Mr. Pennybones that I did this entire thing with like a little skeleton hand? Do you think like there's like something like disrespectful about that?